Welcome to Pretty Lies and Alibis. Let's seek the truth and travel the long road to justice together. What you know, Alibis, I'm finally here. Good grief. What a day. What a day. It's been crazy. All right. First, out of the gate, just want to say, this is what all this is about. Today has been 3 years since Tylee Ryan was murdered. And that is 1,095 days. And, I was thinking about Tylee all day because after you cover this case for like over 2 years, you sort of feel like you know the victims, even though you don't. And it's kind of odd how you grow to care about people you never met and you never will, obviously. But, you think about Tylee and her life, and we learned through the custody documents that from a very, very young age that Lori used Tylee as a pawn. Tylee's childhood was chaotic, to say the least. She robbed Tylee of having a relationship with her daddy, and that is such an evil thing for a parent to do. But Lori gave off this image of being a perfect mom, and often at the expense of things that were done to these kids behind closed doors. And then you kind of jump to around November, December of 2018 after Lori meets Chad. And Tylee had to feel that change in her mom and see that change in her mom. Probably saw these weird people start to come around and talk about really weird stuff. And I'm sure that a lot of the parenting of JJ was shifted over to Tylee. And then you go through the first half of that year and you see that things had to have been so chaotic and uncertain for her. Lori leaves Charles. Things get very tense. Lori disappears for a period of time and a lot of back and forth. And then you jump to July 11th of 2019, the day Charles was murdered. And we all know what we all believe to be what Lori and Alex made Tylee do, which is lie for them and give this fake story. And rewatching the police video again to do this mega series, I noticed the emotion in Tylee in the 30 minutes that she had to wait. And I believe when this was first released, I just started when the investigator came in. And you see that moment where Tylee breaks down and kind of hits her hand. But what's even sad to me is you see how quickly she stifles that. And I think that Tylee probably had to do that a lot during her life, is not show emotion when she really wanted to, probably from situations that Lori put her in. And she did what they asked her to do, obviously, only for less than 2 months later, for them to murder her in cold blood. And so this quote on screen here that I found really just spoke to me yesterday about Tylee. It says, "Your life was a hypothesis. Those who die old are made of the past. Thinking of them, one thinks of what they have done. Thinking of you, one thinks of what you could have become. You were and you will remain made up of possibilities." And that's a quote that I can't even pronounce that last name. It's Edward LeVay, I guess. But, that's the saddest thing is Tylee was nearly 17 and nearly out from being under her mother legally, I guess you could say. And, it's just so sad to think that that she never got that chance to be Tylee Ryan without her mom right behind her, involving her in her plans that were not good for her. And I think, what we've heard about Tylee over the years is that she was spunky and she was never afraid to speak her mind. And I think Tylee probably would have come out okay in the end. Anyways, they robbed her of that. And so for me, today has been a reminder of why we all have a passion for true crime, is because we want to see people held accountable for taking her life 3 years ago today. So I hope that Tylee is happy wherever she is, and, I hope that she finally has some peace in her life. I really do. It's been a heavy day thinking about her. So, lots of love to those who are family and friends and love Tylee, because I know today is very bittersweet, even for those of us who never had the pleasure to actually meet her. So, there's that. So let's do our music fact of the day. And this is a great song. I've always loved it. Jeff Buckley's version of Hallelujah. It's actually a song written by Leonard Cohen. It's a cover, but Jeff Buckley's version is my absolute favorite version. There are over 300 documented versions of this song having been recorded over the years. But he first heard this song while cat sitting for a friend in New York. He was going through her albums, and it was actually a tribute album to Leonard Cohen. It wasn't even Leonard Cohen's version that he heard first. And he played it live for a long time, and he would mix it up. They said he never played the song the same. It would depend on his mood that day. He would try it in different keys. And so he released 2 live albums, but only 1 studio album before he died. And that album was called Grace. And while recording the album, he did 20 different versions of the song Hallelujah. So the version that we all know and love was actually stitched together from all these different versions that he recorded in the studio. This was not sung in one session or take. He died at the age of 30 after drowning in the Mississippi River Channel in May of 1997. And it wasn't until his death that the song hit mainstream. So it's interesting, you know, a lot of times things kind of are discovered when an artist dies. Really sad, beautiful, haunting version of that song. My favorite by far. All right. So the other big news today, and part of the reason I'm so late getting this done, it's been chaos with Colby and the status of what's going on with him. So last night I got a text saying, I think the charges against Colby have been dropped. And then I went to sleep, got up. It seemed as if he were going to bond out. So that was kind of the thinking all day, was that Colby had bonded out, but Nate Eaton and Justin Lum both posted that the sex assault charges have been dropped without prejudice, meaning they can refile the charges. And a spokesperson for the prosecutor's office told Nate Eaton and East Idaho News, the case is under review by our office. The dismissal was without prejudice, which allows us to refile those charges. Guys, I'm just as clueless as you are. Who knows what's going on? I'm not going to speculate, because that's just speculation. That's all we know right now. Not sure why that happened, but 2 charges where you have confessions twice by Colby. Something must have happened. So anyways, also, Kay and Larry gave an interview to KTVB the other day, and Kay explained the reason they have not been able to lay JJ and Tylee to rest. And she said that they are waiting on the defense to decide if they want a second autopsy on the children. And she said, until that happens, they can't do anything. And Larry said, at this point, my life is simply giving those 2 children what they deserve, putting them to rest. What happens to Lori and Chad is in the jury's hands. That has to be torturous to know where those kids are, and have been for over 2 years now. All right, so we are going to jump back into our timeline. We're jumping back on January the 8th. By the way, if you have VineLink and have alerts for Lori and Chad, we got our weekly 60 alerts today about the same dates in January for trial. But I think now I figured it out. I think Lori and Chad like go in their portal at night and say, let's mess with everybody who's got us on alert. That's where it's coming from. All right, so we're jumping back in January 8th, 2020. Melanice was supposed to meet with detectives, but she didn't show. In an email on March 10th, 2020, a friend of Melanice's is reached out to by detectives and asks if there's any indication that she might be ready to talk to authorities. The friend responds that when she did reach out and ask about the kids, she told the friend that if she prayed about the situation with her family, she would know that she's been working with authorities and telling them what she knows. She also said that she only needs those people in her life that wouldn't base their beliefs and judgments off rumors they see in the news. She told the friend she loved her and hopes that she will learn the truth. The friend also tells investigators that she thinks Melanice is pregnant, and she said she would try to reach out to her again, but she might be seen as a dark person. So the next day, the investigator responds to Melanice's friend and says that Melanie's talking to authorities is not what she professes it to be. And he also confirms to her that Melanice is pregnant. And the investigator says that he hopes that she'll come forward with the truth, but he feels that she's in very deep and will take Lori's secrets to the grave for her. He also says they know the group will put the dark tag on anybody who conflicts with their belief system, and says you should hear the things they've called investigators, and if not for the death and missing children, it would be comical. He says they can't seem to understand how misguided they all are. He also says that Melanice will feel more alone in the future as Chad and Lori may go deeper into hiding. And he says the investigation is a marathon and not a sprint. And the sooner they can verify the safety of the kids, the better. And that's really true. It was a marathon. It's still a marathon. We're still going. Hopefully, I think the trial in January hopefully goes off and, we start getting justice served soon. Also, a hotel employee told Fox 10 Phoenix that she had expected Charles to bring JJ back to that hotel that morning for breakfast. Instead, police came to the hotel and told her that Charles was dead. So on January the 9th, Rexburg investigators interview Tylee's aunt and Joe Ryan's sister, Annie Cushing. Also on the 9th, Lori accesses JJ's old school messaging app. And on January the 10th, Chad Daybell's brother Matt releases a statement, and he says, due to the circumstances surrounding the unknown whereabouts of JJ Vallow and Tylee Ryan and the suspicious death investigation of Tammy Daybell, I feel I must make an official statement at this time. My name is Matt Daybell. My wife is Heather Daybell. We've been residents of the Rexburg area for over 15 years. Chad Daybell is my oldest brother. I have not seen nor directly spoken to Chad since Tammy's memorial here in Rexburg on October 23rd, 2019. Since that time, I've texted Chad twice. Once when I heard from a neighbor of his quick marriage to Lori Vallow, expressing to him my shock and dismay at the news. Second, just recently pleading with Chad to cooperate with authorities and reveal the whereabouts of his new stepchildren. I've not been close to Chad since childhood. My immediate family has had little association with Chad the last many years due to our concerns with his religious claims and particular books he's chosen to publish, including his own. We are deeply saddened at the recent events that have played out the last several months. It's our hope and prayer that JJ and Tylee are safe. We want the truth to be found, whatever that truth turns out to be. Neither I nor my wife and children have any more information than what's been reported by the news media. I plead again for Chad to come forward and cooperate with the investigation so that this very difficult situation might be resolved. My wife and I ask for privacy for us and our children and will not be giving any further comments at this time. Also, on this day, a former neighbor of Alex's in Santan Valley told the Daily Mail that about a year ago, Lori and Alex were out in the street yelling at each other really loud. This is the time where Lori yelled something about "you've brought shame to our family." Don't know what that meant. Would love to know, but probably never will. So January the 11th, Lori and Chad stay at the Kauai Beach Resort in a 5th floor room with a king bed and mountain views. Lori booked it using her Hawaii driver's license, and that, as we know, had the name Lori Ryan. And she also used an address that law enforcement was not aware of. Kay says in an interview with Fox 10 that this is Lori's favorite resort, and she had previously stayed there with Lori, Charles, JJ, and Tylee. So January 13th, Dateline staff members start trying to track Lori and Chad down in Hawaii. And what happened was East Idaho News had gotten a tip about her cell phone pinging in Hawaii. And Kauai PD asked Dateline to be careful not to spook Lori or Chad. So we're starting to pick up here. You know, it's this has become a story. This is really when Fruit Loop and I were really deep into our research of these people. And it's interesting the things we found before the internet really got full of all these different news stories. We found a lot of stuff. I need to try to find it. My computer crashed before this one, but I think I have a backup. So January the 14th, Melanice is interviewed by Rexburg PD. Also, a case is filed in probate court for Charles in Texas. Investigators received the footage from Yellowstone of the day Tylee was last seen alive. So January 16th, a child protection action was filed in Madison County, Idaho on behalf of JJ and Tylee. The order says for good cause shown, JJ and Tylee are to be placed in shelter care in the custody of the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare once they are located. The Department of Health and Welfare is to conduct an investigation into the health, safety, and welfare of the children and report back to the court within 15 days. Lori must physically turn over the children to either the Idaho Department of Health and Welfare in Rexburg or the Rexburg Police Department within 5 days of being served the order. The children will be appointed a guardian ad litem and an attorney. Violation of this order may subject Lori Vallow to criminal and civil contempt of court. At Chad's preliminary hearing, a forensic investigator testified that on this date as well, he took possession of Tammy Daybell's cell phone, but he couldn't unlock it. So the phone was sent to the FBI forensics lab, and he got it back March the 12th of 2020. So we're going to jump to January 20th. Kay emails Detective Moffat. Anything new in Charles's murder case? The body cams released last week were eye-opening as to how blatantly obvious they planned his ambush and demise. I didn't watch the one with Charles in it. First on-scene officer body cam. Didn't think I should see it. Larry watched it and described things to me. We appreciate your help. Also on this date, Detective Hermosillo from Rexburg PD arrives in Hawaii to put Charles and Lori under surveillance. Chad has a brief discussion with a real estate agent as he's leaving the house, saying the property is being shown to a potential buyer, and that's why he was leaving. So January 23rd, Maricopa County Coroner's Office releases the autopsy of Joe Ryan. And it said in the report that due to the decomposition of his body, they were unable to get blood samples, but they did get tissue from the thigh muscles and the liver to store for toxicology tests. January 24th, Rexburg gets some more footage from Yellowstone. And January 25th, Lori is served with the order in Hawaii to produce the kids. I remember when this happened thinking, all right, it's do or die time. Like either they're going to show up with these kids or they're not. And I know those of you who have been on this case since the beginning, this was a tense few days. This was, I was glued to my computer. I had every alert, Nate Eaton, Dateline. I had like Justin Lum, everybody to where if they tweeted anything, my phone would go off. It's just, man. January 26th, Lori and Chad are seen on a beach in Hawaii by the FBI who had them under surveillance. And a search warrant was executed on their black Ford Explorer that they had rented. And I rewatched that body cam footage. And as soon as the officer gives Lori those papers, she like starts looking them over. I mean, intently. She's just, yeah. So they also put her and Chad in the back of separate police cars while they're going through this stuff. In her possession, they found JJ and Tylee's birth certificates, Tylee's banking card, JJ's iPad, which had his initials on the back, a second iPad that was logged onto JJ's Apple account, and JJ's school registration receipts from the school he went to in Idaho. They also say they had found out later Tylee's bank card was active and had been used since the last time that Tylee was seen alive. The same day, they execute search warrants on their condo. They found 2 beach chairs, 2 yoga mats, and 2 beach towels in the garage. They note there's no toys or kids' items anywhere. And this is the day where Nate Eaton follows them around. Is where are your kids, Lori? Where are your kids, Lori? This is when I absolutely, totally just thought Nate Eaton was a boss. Like, he did not let up, nonstop talking. I know where my 3 kids are all the time. Where are your kids, Lori? And if I'm not mistaken, I believe that Shane Bishop, who is a producer for Dateline, was behind the camera on this, if I'm not mistaken. This is also when Lori says that Nate says people are praying for your kids, and she says, "That's great." And Nate's like, "That's great. That's great." Love Nate Eaton. Also, Lori is seen with a clear baggie with a lot of cash in it. So on January 27th, Lori and Chad leave the Kauai Beach Resort and stay for one night at the Kauai Marriott Resort. Kauai PD releases a statement saying that they are assisting with the case of the missing kids. And Kay tells Fox 10 Phoenix, really in just an open plea to Lori, Lori, if you have an ounce of compassion left in your entire body, please produce the kids. All right, it's time for our last ad of the week. BetterHelp, problem solving. And look, if you're like me, I'm really good at solving everybody else's problems. I can tell my kids what to do. I can tell my family what to do, my friends, whatever. But a lot of times, like today, this was a big problem solving day for me because I had so much stuff coming in, like nonstop. And I just could not get things organized up here to get to where I am tonight. So, what can therapy do to help you in situations like I needed one in tonight? It could take the load off of you by having a neutral person help you problem solve. Little problems add up to be big problems, just like today for me. Or maybe you got one big problem you just are stuck with, can't figure out a way around it. If you're thinking of giving therapy a try, BetterHelp is an amazing option. It's online. You can talk by phone through messages back and forth on your computer, or you can do a FaceTime call. And you're matched with a therapist within 48 hours of taking a brief survey. You also have the option to switch therapists at any time. So if you're thinking of giving therapy a try, let's try BetterHelp. And if you want 10% off your first month, you can go to betterhelp.com/whattheworld today. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/whattheworld for your 10% off. So also, we're going to jump to January 28th. And this is when we see a video. There's East Idaho News and Dateline. Actually, this footage was shown on an episode of Dateline where they're following Lori and Chad as they're walking to the parking lot in their bathing suits. And where are the kids, Lori? They go inside the resort and they don't come out. But if you look, Chad has a grin as soon as they say, Chad, this is so-and-so from Dateline. He grins. And if you've noticed watching court hearings, he always grins at the most awkward times. Somebody, if they stumble while they're talking, he thinks it's funny. I don't know. It's just a weird tick with him, I guess. But so January the 29th, Kay and Larry file for emergency guardianship of JJ. Kay said even though they have no legal rights to Tylee, they would take her in as well, and they would be more than happy to have her. And she tells KPVI News that it's scary, but I'm being optimistic in saying that just the next few days will probably pass very slowly. I'm sure because we're waiting for Thursday to get here. And I just feel like there will be some kind of resolution by Thursday at the latest. Whether it's happy or sad, I don't know. In the meantime, we're going to keep hoping and praying that it will be a joyous occasion on Thursday. So the same day, Lori and Chad, what do they do when things start to get a little crazy? Well, they run. And so on the 28th, the same day, they move out of their condo to the Kauai Beach Resort. And Justin Lum from Fox 10 Phoenix was told they were seen inside the night before around 9 p.m. So I'm sorry, this was 29th. That would night before have been the 28th. And this was before or around 9 p.m. And he posts a picture on his Twitter, which is what you see here, with the lights on. He says sources told him it looks like they left overnight and early this morning the lights were off. And Kay said that in an interview one time. I'm not sure who with, but she said, they scatter like cockroaches when the light comes on, when things are going down, just like they did after the welfare check in Rexburg. If you remember, that night they were packing up. They were gone. So January the 30th, the deadline passes for Lori to produce the kids. Another thing that day is there's an email between investigators, and some of the things that are said, she took pictures of the computer screen, mostly of booking confirmations for airfare, hotel, and car rental. They talk about how this computer may be really beneficial to the investigation once they seize it. At this point, they don't see that Lori is communicating with anyone through text messages. And they note she's careful not to discuss anything and often tells people just to call her. They contacted the maker of the wedding bands from Etsy. Remember, she had made that order. It was canceled because the maker of the rings was overcommitted with school. He told them he had to cancel the order, and they note how ironic it is that Lori books the Phoenix to Idaho flight the day after Tammy dies. They also say the metadata on the phone helps with premeditation. At this point, too, media from all over goes to Rexburg to wait and see if Lori's going to produce these kids. Also, Lori retains a lawyer in Hawaii, Daniel Hempy. He was at her first appearance. That dude was so nervous. His face was red, and man, you could tell this was obviously the biggest thing he's ever done as far as being an attorney. I almost felt bad for him, really. It said that he retained her on this day at her first court appearance. That's when they talked about when this lawyer was retained. He's quickly let go, though. Also, Chandler PD gives Lori's iCloud information to the FBI. Kay gives a press conference, and poor Larry, he wasn't feeling well, so we went back to the hotel to rest. She tells East Idaho News regarding what the next steps as far as law enforcement is. She said they're not going to let the grass grow under their feet with this. They're going to keep this moving. And so this is kind of a presser, actually. She says several things that just, break your heart. I just can't. I don't know what to do. I have my hopes up for today. Hopefully being able to see our grandson. I know she doesn't have them. I pray that they are with family somewhere that is caring for them. I would like for her to be in jail until she talks. If that's a month or a year, whatever the situation, she needs to be there until she talks. She's got to say where they are. She has to. How do you not have your child for 4 months? What kind of a mother does that? So true. The only word that is coming to my mind right now is monster. And as much as I loved Lori, all this has just been very disheartening, and I have so many questions. We've had a really rough few weeks, and then once we learned about the order being given to her Saturday, that really gave us more hope. At least we're now seeing things happen. I'm not at all surprised of that. Lori's not going to make this easy. She's got an end game in her head, although this is not a game, but obviously she thinks it is. And when asked if she knew where Lori was, Kay said probably sitting on a beach somewhere while we're sitting here wondering where the kids are. I pray there's an extraditable warrant issued and they bring her in front of the judge. It seems the next step is in the judge's hands. I can't say for sure what's going to happen next, other than I hope it's something that's going to get her attention, because I'd love to know where those kids are. And I think all of America wants to know where they are. And we did. And I think the other thing, that's obvious, but to point, your girl needs a haircut, y'all. To point out too, is not only is Kay wondering where her grandson is, her brother was murdered just, not even a year before, 6 months before, 7 months before. So you have to look at all that her and Larry and Kresha and the whole family was dealing with. Is so much. I can't even imagine. Also on the 30th, the Kauai police released a statement. We appreciate the tremendous outpouring of concern from the public and the media regarding the sensitive case. We kindly ask that you please allow the authorities to continue to conduct this ongoing investigation and give them the space and opportunity to do their due diligence. I totally just about sneezed. Not sure how I got that back in there, y'all. January 31st, Lori accesses JJ's school app. Every time something major goes down, she's on that app, probably to see if anything's being said between parents. Also on the 31st, Colby releases a YouTube video which is titled "To My Family." And he said, "I love you because you're my mom. But at the end of the day, I'm in the same spot. Everybody's in the same spot with no answers. I feel ignored. I feel angry. I feel like I'm so confused and still trying to go on every single day. Last night, I just thought I'd feel better by some type of answer, but if anything, it just made everything worse. I feel like I've just lost everything in such a short amount of time. The only reason I'm doing this is because I feel like this is the only way I get to talk to you. I want you to show them and step up and do the right thing. And that's what I've been praying for. And that's all I want, is to see the kids and for this situation to have some type of closure." So February the 2nd, 2020, Lori and Chad attend services at an LDS church in Kauai. They're seen talking with the bishop, just not a care in the world. They are acting like nothing's wrong. And they are overheard saying by somebody in the church that the media was lies and it's all one-sided. Also, East Idaho News reported that Lori had her church records transferred to Hawaii, but Tylee and JJ's names were not on that record. Lori's mom said she talked to a just lost me place, y'all. Sorry. She talks to a friend of Lori's in Kauai and says to tell her to please take a picture of the kids with today's date and send it to the police. She said that's her advice as Lori's mom, and doing this would solve a lot of problems. On this day, Nate Eaton is in church and gets a call from the owner of the storage unit in Rexburg saying he has surveillance footage of visits to the unit by Lori and crew and offers it to him. Probably safe to say Nate left the service a little early that day. February 3rd, investigators get a tip and say that Lori and Alex had a strange relationship. That's putting it very mildly. And on the day JJ was last seen, Alex was coat shopping for Lori. And also the investigator mentions how bizarre that was. And it is bizarre. February 4th, Lori again logs into JJ's school app from Life Academy in Arizona. So in an email exchange that starts on the 4th and is ongoing for 10 days, I'm just going to kind of sum it up what was said. An administrator from JJ's school reaches out to investigators saying they're aware she's still looking on the app from 3 different devices and they blocked her from it and she still seems to be able to view it. So the administrator thinks maybe she's using a different email address to do so. And I kind of wonder if maybe it was Charles's email. They also forgot to remove her from another app, but they were aware of that, so they're going to do it at this point. And she's concerned that a news company is doing a story on JJ and they found out that he went to that school, and they're just super stressed about all of it, and they're emotional because JJ's missing. And we've said it in the past, me and Fruit Loop, we both taught kids with autism. You get very attached to your kids that you teach. They're like your own. You care for them like they're your own. The investigator replies that Lori is in Hawaii and they shouldn't worry about their safety, saying Lori has more going on with other things than to bother them. The investigator also says they think Lori is watching from several places for information about the case. This staff member also asks her if they can see the email Lori is using to access the app. And the administrator says only from a surface level. And they have asked the app company to pull the IP addresses, and they've escalated the request, but the investigators may have better luck getting it quicker with a search warrant. So the investigator responds and says they can send their computer guy over to help them and write a warrant if they need to. The investigator also said the media is going to take advantage of them there at the school, and the more they give, the more they will stay in the news. So the administrator says she's given a final statement to the media and will not be commenting further. She says they can sleep knowing they did what they could as an advocate for JJ. Also on February 4th, the same day, Zulema files a probate case in Maricopa County for Alex. February 5th, there's some emails back and forth with investigators, and one investigator found audio on Lori's phone of her testimony. He says she is self-prophesizing everything she does because her heavenly Father tells her. He says to enjoy the listening, and he says it will really help understand her thinking. So they were sending the audio files to let other people listen. Chad's brother, Matt, and his wife, Heather, are interviewed by Rexburg PD on this day. Also, Self Storage Plus in Rexburg releases a statement saying Self Storage Plus hopes for the speedy and safe return of Joshua, JJ Vallow, and Tylee Ryan. Self Storage Plus is working with local authorities who are investigating this matter, and so as not to jeopardize their investigation, we will not be providing any further information at this time. Let's see here. A staff member at JJ School in Arizona, again, emails detectives that they're worried she's still accessing the app. On the 6th, also February 6th, Rexburg Sheriff Lynn Humphreys confirms that Tammy Daybell had a life insurance policy through her job at the school. I think it's been discovered since this time that maybe she had a couple of different life insurance policies. So February 7th, a call is released between a detective in Gilbert, Arizona, and a dispatcher who took the 911 call from Fremont County the night Tammy was murdered. And the dispatch says, oh, yeah, I was the one that actually took that call. So why is someone from Arizona wanting to know? That's crazy. The detective says, yeah, it's funny how everything ties together. We just have some cases down here that got our attention with Miss Daybell. The dispatch says the family did not want an autopsy, so they just went straight to the funeral home and the family refused an autopsy. The detective says the family said they don't want an autopsy, therefore the coroner just signed off then and there. And then the funeral home took Miss Daybell. Is that how it works? Dispatch says yes, that's pretty much how it works. And on this day, JJ's service dog trainer talks to Justin Lum from Fox 10 Phoenix. He said, I'm picking up the dog, trying to help them out. Lori says this tragedy happened and she needed to move. She told me they were moving up north. I think she said Idaho or something like that. One of her daughters was in school in Idaho. She said they were moving up there to be with her. And I said, okay, let me see if I can find a home. She said, I need you to come get him right now. So low. Also, February 9th, Lori and Chad are back at that church in Hawaii. I need to pull up this file real quick and put it up there. I'm only allowed to upload 10 files, but this is a picture of Lori and Chad walking in from behind. As always, I'll put a link to these photos in the description of the podcast. Also, Janice and Summer told Morgan Lowe from Arizona Family that it didn't look good with Lori and Chad in Hawaii while the kids were missing, but we knew the kids weren't missing to her. She said she knows how much JJ and Tylee love Lori and they would want to be with their mom. Also, there's a message posted to the AVAL forum allegedly from Chad, and it says, thanks for the update. The issue that people are linking me to Julie's beliefs, which I studied but rejected. Lori and I have been absolutely silent for 3 months. I'm constrained by my lawyers from saying more until the legal mess is complete, but be assured I will be back. Hopefully the subscribers will be there when I can fully return to GRI, which is an AVAL, like a sub forum, I believe, and tell my experiences. I appreciate your support. Julie Rowe gave this little email to Inside Edition, by the way, on February 21st. Also, Joe Ryan's sister, Annie Cushing, talks to KSL TV and says the last time she saw Tylee was after Joe died in 2018. She went to go check on her and try to help her out. They found out 5 weeks after Joe's death from law enforcement. Nobody claimed his body. So Annie said she was concerned that since Tylee was homeschooled, she doesn't know the exact date of her disappearance. Also, February 10th, the FBI gets in touch with Phoenix police about Joe's death. Yeah, and unfortunately, that was just ruled natural. I'll never believe it. And even if she didn't physically kill him, she killed his spirit. And, you know, several episodes. This is 51, by the way, which is insane. But we showed that comparison side by side of his driver's license and then like a current one. Man, it had taken such a toll on him physically. It was easy to see um, the toll physically on Joe Ryan. Um, February 11th, Fremont County Sheriff's Office tells KTVB that Tammy's autopsy is complete, but it could be a year before the results are known. Also, her dad tells a 2KUTV reporter over the phone that he doesn't want their silence to come off as indifference and they care deeply, but this is how they're choosing to honor Tammy. So, the last little bit we're going to do tonight, Rexburg Sheriff Lynn Humphreys talks to the media and says there's varying degrees of cooperation among family members. I know there was a report that we had met with the family privately and released results to them, and that was totally fictitious. He also said the call with investigators from Arizona and dispatch, this dispatcher was new at the job at the time and didn't know. He said that she gave the family or the impression that the family decides if an autopsy is done. And he said, in fact, it's the coroner who determines if an autopsy is necessary. He said, I know that was a recording that came out of our office. You have to understand this was a dispatcher who was very new and didn't have the complete information. She did not have all the facts. It kind of gives the impression that the families are the ones who make the determination. And he said, regardless of whether or not the family wants one done, if the coroner believes it's necessary, then it happens. So one thing we'll do here, February the 12th, Chad and Lori are seen shopping at a Costco and then a Long's. And, you look at these pictures of Lori and Chad, and they're going to church and they're hopping resorts and they're going to the pool and they're just doing all these quote normal things. And knowing what we know now, it's just the amount of evil in somebody to just go to Hawaii when you know where these kids are. Anyways, it just blows my mind every time. This photo was actually shown on Joby Allen's Twitter. He's like a local DJ there in Hawaii, I believe. So, we'll just finish February the 12th. Brandon emails Detective Pillar information on his life insurance policy, listing him as the insured. The policy had Melanie's as the beneficiary and payments come out of her account on auto draft. Brandon said after a separation and divorce, he talked to her about stopping her payment, but it required both of their signatures, which is not common when it comes to life insurance policies for obvious reasons. It says as of this date, she still hasn't completed the paperwork. In October of the last year, Melanie's texts and asked him to confirm that the auto draft won't come out of her account for the month of September because it did for August. Brandon told her he can't stop auto pay, but could send the form she needed to sign. She didn't respond to him. He tried to text her back the next day and she still didn't respond. Also on this day, Kay and Larry have a hearing in Idaho about guardianship. So there you go. Finally, wanted to get this in even though it's late, but most importantly, just in ending this, today is a day to remember Tylee. And we can look at all these shenanigans with Lori and the hair and the makeup and the lack of Botox and all that. And it's something to talk about, online or whatever. But today drives home what really matters, which is Tylee, JJ, Charles, Tammy, and to me, Joe Ryan. All of these people are victims at Lori and Chad and Alex's hands and other co-conspirators, known and unknown, as it said in the reports. And also the living victims, the friends of Tylee's, the family of Tylee's, the friends and family of JJ, the cousins, the teachers, everybody that's been affected. Same for Charles and Tammy. It's September. We've got January. And maybe we'll get onto this real road to justice. And anyways, I appreciate you guys hanging in there with me tonight. It's been a long day, but worth it because it's another day where we're closer to justice for all these victims. All right, guys. Hope you have a good night. I will see you Monday or Tuesday.